While I'm busy and up to my elbows working on handbags, I let my laser do a lot of work. Well, lasers, plural now. This is especially true around the holidays. That means people are looking for something super special to give to their loved ones or their mortal enemies. Custom and handmade items have a more personal touch than something you would just buy off of someone's Amazon wish list. So in this video, I'm going to go through the top items that I sell from my small business that I've made with my lasers. The laser I'm going to be using in this video is the X-Tool F1 Ultra. It's a 20-watt diode and a 20-watt fiber. That means it can mark metals in addition to natural materials like wood, leather, etc., etc. And I don't mean love tapping the surface like a little 2-watt IR laser. I mean deep engravings, like you can emboss coins and stuff with it. So let's go over some of those top items. First, we have ornaments. You can engrave some pre-made ornaments that you purchase in bulk, or you can just make your own. Something that's really trending right now is glass ornaments. There's a couple of ways to do these. You can take acrylic paint and mix it with an acrylic medium to kind of loosen it up. So after you're done lasering away the color that's on the glass ornament, you basically take that mixture of acrylic paint and pour it inside and shake it like you mean it. That distributes the paint all over the inside, and then you can kind of tip it upside down and let the extra run out. You need to give it a couple of coatings. Here's what the ornament looks like with 2 coatings of acrylic paint, and here's what it looks like when you're not smart and you only do 1. I can, of course, open this back up and go back over it with a couple more layers if I want. Now, if you don't want to deal with all the paint and the mess, you could basically get fairy lights. At the time of recording this, I actually didn't have a tiny fairy light kit, but you can buy these in bulk off of Amazon. You just put the small strand inside the ornament and then leave a little bit hanging out because, of course, you're going to want the battery pack there. And it's always an option to just leave it empty. The fun thing is these very simple designs, I didn't need to use the rotary. The key thing to remember is your design can't be any bigger than 35 millimeters by 35 millimeters squared. Because of the curvature of the surface of the ornament, you're probably going to lose a bit of that integrity if you go any bigger than that. That's when you want to consider using the rotary. I will say though that ornaments overall are kind of oversaturated. So the best way to make yourself stand out is to have your own designs, not the exact same SVG file that someone has been selling on Etsy. Here's an ornament I actually cut out on the F1 Ultra. I don't normally recommend cutting things with something like a Galvo laser because the beam is always going to have some kind of angle to it. I still wanted to see if I could do it, and I could. It's just not the prettiest cut in the world. The biggest saving grace for me on this particular ornament is the fact that I was using Smoky Hill Designs Echo Birch and Echo Walnut. It's basically wood that's pre-finished. So any of the soot and grime that you see coming off of the laser beam can be wiped off with a baby wipe. The next product on my list is coasters. Now I can make coasters out of wood or cork, but I prefer slate. I also like to pre-treat all of my slate with lacquer. I feel like it makes everything pop so much more. The risk of chipping and distributing a ton of rock debris around while lasering is also lessened by using the lacquer. The thing I like about using the F1 Ultra is that I can actually engrave with a lot more depth than I can with any of my other lasers. In order to achieve this kind of depth on a CO2 laser, I basically have to blast it to the moon. And blasting it with that much power is just going to make it chip more. Slate coasters look really nice and have a high return. You can buy them in bulk, which really helps offset the cost. And honestly, I think they look nicer. And it takes a lot less work to get them ready. If I use wood, even if it's pre-made, I basically have to engrave it, sand it, lacquer it, then sand it again. So there's a whole lot of prep that goes into it, plus post-processing time. Coasters are great decorative options. I typically offer coasters as singlets or as sets of 4. Next up, personal charcuterie. I mean, who really wants to share charcuterie with anyone? That is so 2019. For that friend or family member who just can't get enough cheese, these are perfect. They're great little gifts and they're pre-made items. So all you have to do is put it into the machine and engrave it. I tend to offer 2 forms. First, I've got one that looks like a little cutting board and it's made of bamboo. Bamboo is a fairly cheap wood option and you can get these in different shapes and sizes. I think this one here basically cost me $3, if that. The problem with the bamboo is it doesn't always engrave evenly. That's just the nature of the type of wood. On the flip side, I also have these acacia woods. I don't know if that's how you say it actually, but it sounded good in my head. You can get much darker engravings on this kind of wood and it won't wash out. I still like to go over anything that I've engraved like this that's going to be used for food products though with a little bit of wax, specifically cutting board wax. Now obviously this is not my artwork, this belongs to someone else at Paramount. However, I've made this board for my husband who is a massive Trekkie. And then I have this small board which I basically engraved for one of my sisters. You can see I added a nice personal touch to it. This is the kind of thing that could be used for charcuterie or also just decorative. I mean, I could put a lot of Hershey Kisses in this thing. Next up, glassware. Yes, you can actually engrave glass with a diode laser. Diodes aren't necessarily known for being able to work with clear materials, but for some reason, glass plus tempera paint seems to do the trick. I don't even have like a really expensive airbrush kit. I just have something I got off of Amazon for less than $100. And then specifically, Prang tempera paint, which you can get at the Dollar Tree. There's something about that specific paint that gives a frosty look, which is exactly what you want. Now, this is just a little mason jar glass, but I also have wine glasses, stemless wine glasses, whiskey glasses, and drink glasses, like just regular drink glasses. I don't offer glassware for people who shop on my online store because I refuse to ship glass. However, it's great if I take it out to a craft fair. I've put some black linen in here so you can see the detail a little better because it is practically impossible to get this thing to focus otherwise. You can see how nice and frosty that engraving is. See, the thing about glass is it's a little finicky. Sandblasting is traditionally the right way to engrave glass. It doesn't mean you can't do it with a laser, it just means you have to be careful. And when you're done engraving, the tempera paint washes off with water. Being able to do glassware is a game changer. Whiskey glass sets, for example, are really popular. Last but certainly not least, jewelry. Now, I mentioned earlier that I can do deep engravings on jewelry, which has opened up a world of opportunity for my shop. I've had a lot of fun over the past couple of weeks just designing new jewelry items. Jewelry doesn't have to be metal. Of course, you can make jewelry from acrylic, wood, and leather as well. I just haven't had a machine that can engrave so deeply into metals before, so I kind of went bonkers designing them for the video. Metal blanks cost more than those other materials. It also takes a lot of work to find and test high-quality blanks. If you can offer metal jewelry, then you're a step ahead of most artisans. And if you can offer on-site personalization, like this necklace I made for one of my daughters, then you're bringing a rarely seen product opportunity to the market. So that's it for my top laser engraved items for this holiday season. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the comment section below. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a hankering for some cheese, and good thing I've got one of these little charcuterie trays. Bye!